Hi everyone, so this is my first tutorial for the year 2023. As per the topic itself, this is going to be a comparison of the same setup of growing, which is a semi-hydro, but in two different types of pots. The newcomer to this is the plastic pot, and you have already seen this Phalaenopsis of mine. This has been growing in a very cooler condition, which is provided by the ceramic pot and the setup of semi-hydro it's in. While this, which was in a clay pot and in inorganic media, the usual lava rock and charcoal that I utilize, but grow normally, and it was not in a semi-hydro setup but with inorganic media with a normal drainage from the bottom of the clay pot. So you can pretty much say this has been grown on the normal way, which I've converted into this plastic pot. Let's get closer and see. Okay, and these are caterpillar damages, so that's why I'm keeping away from the scope of this filming. Okay, let's look at the roots. You can see the roots are still remaining green, and this has been potted for over 2 months ago. Right. The only dead root I can see is this. Okay, and other than that, this root has elongated. This just about here, and it has elongated all the way up, right? So those are telltale signs of this working out for the phal, meaning the setup in a plastic pot is working for the phal because there's a reservoir at the bottom to keep this whole plastic pot very cool. However, as per how we grow Phalaenopsis, all these are kept in the shade. However, you can see that I have burnt some of the leaves, right? So this is gonna be a normal thing for most of my phals in the videos for this year, until new leaves come on top and cover it like this, and the leaves fall off from the bottom, right? So this is also a new leaf which was smaller when I was converting this to semi-hydro, and then it has elongated up to this much. I do not think it will elongate to the form leaf length or even more than that, because the plant anyway went through setback, which is recuperation and adaptation to the new surroundings. That is common to any plant when you repot, whether it's Hoyas or orchids. So the top layer here I have used is pebbles, and I have used my usual and faithful fern root parts for this, right? Okay, and there's not a lot because the roots took off. By the way, there are so many roots. If I show you, and this will be included in another video, okay, the concerns regarding so much of these aerial roots. So stay tuned for that. Coming back to the topic at hand, so as you can see, other than the usual natural setbacks. It is actually not a setback. This is a natural occurring. The bottom leaves would dry off and fall off, so as the roots, right? The setup is doing fine. So you can try this out in Asian climates also, as long as you keep the phals in the shade, right, without any direct sun or anything direct. If your plant is healthy, you can easily convert a plant into a semi-hydro setup in a ceramic pot or a plastic pot. So you guys know it has been these semi-hydro setups has been with me for the longest time, and I have managed to keep them alive and growing fully well, because each of these leaves, okay, in this plant is bigger than the previous, okay. But if another leaf is thrown out while this leaf is elongating, which means the converted plant is going through some sort of a setback, but it's quickly recovering from that too, right? Because there are no anomalies. The leaf did not stop from here, or the leaf did not stop growing at all, and the roots did not start rotting away, okay, due to an ingestion of a germ or any other setback was caused on this phal, right? So Phalaenopsis, you just need to if it has already been in a semi-hydro setup, you are just changing the pot, right, with the media itself. I added it to this. I'm sorry I didn't cover it, because I did that in the night and the lighting wasn't that good. So I just had the knack for doing this, and I finally felt I'm really relaxed. So I just went ahead and converted this, but due to the lighting I did not film it. What I did was, just like if I would just take this out, and I just placed it onto the plastic with the roots and everything intact, because there were no dead roots in this phal, right? I think I might have removed one from the bottom where a new root also has emerged. So whatever the dead part I removed with a growing tip attached to it. So therefore there was not much to show also, because I just picked the plant and placed it in the plastic pot and covered it with extra media, and the only change was the top layer being pebbles. And because I had the pebbles already cleaned, so I just utilized it. I didn't as I told you, I did not have time to pre-think about all of this. But however, since I had time to look over it and see whether it would work out, this is also a success story which I'm telling you. You can try out for easy maintenance. The easiest points of a semi-hydro setup is that you do not have to water regularly, because there's this reservoir. So this reservoir will stand up to 2 weeks. Okay, if there's no water at all, you might have to check it, right? Because you have to, when the roots get used to the water, they will reach out to the water. And another thing I would tell you is to place your plant on top of the water reservoir, not into the water reservoir, right? I let these roots fall down because my clay pot, which initially had this plant, had a tray at the bottom with water all the time. And when I looked in, the roots were already at the bottom of that pot, so which means it had contact with water always. So that's the reason I left this be, because I somewhat in the back of my mind had the opinion, had the belief that nothing would happen. But normally, if it's your first time you're converting, do not place the roots into the reservoir, into the water. Just place it on top of the water somewhere here, right? And let the roots reach out to the water when they grow, right? Because the capillary activity will always pump up the water towards the roots, and with the top layer of pebbles or whatever you might choose to use, would act as a barrier for the barrier of the moisture retaining purpose. So therefore you just have to keep on flushing the plant, right, and leave it empty for a day and then fill it up again, like that. Finally, after a week or two, you can keep the reservoir at all times in the pot filled and go on about with your life. Okay, so if I summarize everything, if your Phalaenopsis has been in a inorganic media, you can take it out and place it onto a plastic pot even with a reservoir, right? And please place the roots on top of the reservoir and not into the reservoir, and let the roots reach the reservoir. The first few weeks keep flushing and emptying the reservoir also, because you do not need to introduce any kind of germs, any kind of fungi or anything like that that would jeopardize your roots to rot in the new setup of semi-hydro. But at the same time, you can be safeguard if you did not do any kind of root cuttings or cleanings for the phal when you had to pot it to the new setup. Because if you had a cut in the roots, you have to let that cut heal. Otherwise, an open wound on a root can introduce a lot of germs where the roots will rot and introduce a whole other rotting issue to your whole plant, right? And that will not have a chance to survive in a semi-hydro setup, because it is always wet and there's water at the reservoir. That would rot it much faster than a normal root rot, right? You will lose your plant. So those are the tips I can give you. But if I have missed anything, and if you need more information or any other questions pop up in your mind, please drop a comment. I will surely address them via a reply or a future video, as I've requested to you. Your questions are what's the most important to me. We'll do videos as per your questions. So therefore, don't be afraid to ask any question, anything at all. I don't mind, because we are all here to learn. Teach me something in the process too, guys. So until my next video, I hope you will try out a semi-hydro setup and see progress, right? And you'll be successful in them, right? Do not worry. Certain leaf drops would happen, but it has to be from the bottom, right? If it's from the middle, there is a stem rot going on. So if it's from the bottom, you don't have to worry about. If the bottommost leaves are dropping off, that is because the plant is trying to reserve energy for the top part and the roots to get used to the setup at hand, so therefore do not worry about that. Also adding that, I will end the video. Thank you guys for watching and have a wonderful week.